Welcome to your group this week. When you think about the first disciples, like us, they aspired to greatness. They wanted to see themselves as having status. Their culture, a lot like ours, uses a language to describe greatness that talks about who you know, or what you own. The disciples literally one day were going along kind of debating and thinking, how can we become great? And even were so bold to ask Jesus if one could sit on his right and one on his left of his kingdom. It's in this context that Jesus speaks in Mark chapter 10 and says, if anyone wants to be great in my kingdom, he must become the servant of all. If anyone wants to be first, he must become last. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. You see, when we start learning the language of love, we start recognizing that it's a different language altogether than what culture speaks about. So why is it so hard for us to revolutionize how we think? Why is it so difficult for us to shift away from thinking we're something because we know somebody, or because we know something, or because we just bought some impressive item? It's because something happens in our head that gets us in a rut to think like culture instead of think like Christ. And in doing that, we find ourselves kind of impotent in our faith, unable to make the changes in our own lives or affect change in the lives around us. God wants to change that. He wants to revolutionize how that works. Eugene Nida, a linguist, says that we must come to the awareness and fact that language creates the grooves of thought. I like that. That language creates the grooves of thought. That's because we think in words. We think in word pictures. And so when the words we think about might be that thing that we hear repeatedly as a child, that you're an idiot, you're stupid, you'll never amount to anything. All of a sudden we get into a groove in our thoughts that restrict us rather than liberate us, that hold us back rather than let us be propelled forward by who God is. And so we've got to begin to change how we think. What kind of grooves are holding us back? Because our grooves of thought really are the ruts we get into in our thinking that create the habits we get into in our behavior. If I'm going to change my habits, I've got to change my grooves of thought. So, for instance, if you have a groove of selfishness, it's when you constantly think about only how things impact you. Did you like church that week? Did it give you what you wanted? What are you going to do after church? Why this week are you going to skip church? It's a groove of selfishness that's all about us. Or maybe we have a groove of fear. A groove of fear, when it looks at others that are different than us, sees a threat, sees them as in competition with us. Maybe they're better. Maybe people like them more. And so when you're in that rut of fear, people are threatening. Whereas if we created a groove of faith, now people's differences are seen as opportunities for new friendships, for curious exploration of another person's gifts or talents or skills. All of a sudden, their strength might complement my weakness. But we've got to get out of our old groove. So what's your groove? Where might you be stuck in some past thought pattern that's holding you back rather than letting you be someone boldly going into the future as a revolutionary of Jesus? This week, as you talk and deliberate in your small group, challenge one another to identify what's an old groove you need to leave behind, what's an old rut you need to bury, and what's the new groove you need to get. Have a great group.